I just uploaded the final installment of my review of the Retevis RT10 900 megahertz radios, and which was a field test of it. And if you've watched that, you heard me say Roger after receiving a transmission, and I just wanted to discuss that. If you watch very much TV, which I don't watch very much TV, but I watch some, but there's always some cop or firefighter or government agent or whatever saying Roger that or copy that. And I wanted to discuss that because it's superfluous. Roger means received, and where that comes from is Roger is the international phonetic for R, and R means received. And it was originally used in Morse code. You just send the letter R to show that you have received it. Not necessarily that you agree with it, or, you know, it doesn't mean yes or anything like that. It just means I received the transmission. I understood what was being said. So, anyway, like I said, R means received in Morse code, and Roger is international phonetic for R. So to say Roger that is, as I said, superfluous. And I'm not saying that no cops or firefighters or whatever ever say that, even though you know, they are, I guess you'd say they're professional radio users, but that doesn't mean that that they don't develop habits that don't necessarily make sense just because they hear other people doing it. And that's okay, that's fine. But that was just something I wanted to discuss. And while we're on the subject, there's another one that comes from Morse code that you never actually hear people say this. You know, you don't hear people say Charlie. But it's just something of interest that in Morse code, the shortcut for yes is the letter C, or Charlie. And the reason we use the letter C is because it sounds like the Hispanic word for yes, C. So thought you might be interested in knowing that if you didn't know it already. And also, one more thing I wanted to touch on. And by the way, this is the Retevis. This is my Kenwood commercial 900 megahertz radio. And I've got a mobile also that's similar. And this is a radio that's in the same series as this one, but this one is a UHF 450 to 470. And I use it for GMRS, and I also use it for the 70 centimeter ham band. And the keypad is an optional thing, which you could also get with the 900 megahertz and the VHF versions. But so on to the last thing I wanted to discuss. Speaking of TV, you always see somebody, you know, the cop or the government agent or whoever, holding a radio up to their mouth and talking with the radio held sideways. And that's a bad idea. And I know a lot of people emulate that, but it's basically just, well, it's like one of those other things that a lot of people are familiar with, that just because TV shows something being held sideways doesn't mean it's the way to do it. And with the radio, if you hold it sideways, that means you're cross-polarizing it. You're cross-polarizing the antenna. So if the antenna is supposed to be held upright like this, and it is, and you hold it like this to hold it up to your mouth, then you're cross-polarizing the signal, because repeaters, vehicle antennas, and so on are usually, almost always, vertically polarized. And if you hold it sideways, you got cross polarization. And that can lead to as much as a 30 dB loss. And a 30 dB loss means, like with this radio for example, at 1 watt, if you hold it sideways and you get a 30 dB loss, which it can vary, but you tend to get more loss with cross polarization the higher the frequency goes, and that definitely applies to 900 megahertz. It also definitely applies to 450 megahertz. But you can get, signals bouncing off objects, buildings, and so on, and changing the polarization somewhat. But, even though that might happen, you still don't want to start out from a position of disadvantage, which you're doing if you hold the radio sideways. And if you get 30 dB of loss, that means you're going from 1 watt to 1 milliwatt approximately. So 1,000th of your signal. And that doesn't make as much difference as it sounds like it would, but it still makes a huge difference. So the bottom line is, when you talk into your radio, hold it, in a position that's as in the clear as possible, and hold it so that the antenna is straight up. That's going to give you the best chance of getting your signal through. So I just wanted to touch on that, and thanks for watching.